This episode of A Beacon of Hope is proudly brought to you by Campfire Studios. To find out more, visit campfirestudios.co.nz. 2, 3, 4. A Beacon of Hope is a weekly podcast that shines a light on the human spirit and explores the power of hope in our lives. Join me, Will Fleming, as I talk to people from all walks of life about where they find hope and how they use it to navigate life's challenges.
Be good, be safe, and be happy.
This week I welcome the inspiring Edward Uini to share his incredible story of finding hope and helping others find their hope. Eddie founded Orange Sky New Zealand, which is a non-for-profit organisation providing people experiencing homelessness with access to free laundry services, warm showers, and a non-judgmental conversation across Aotearoa, New Zealand. In this heartfelt episode, you'll hear Eddie's journey so far as we delve into the topic of hope and where to find hope when things around you seem hopeless. This podcast also zooms in on taking the leap of faith when following your own path, and how to think about the idea of risk when it comes to your true calling in life. Do you feel like it's sustainable now?
Orange Sky?
Yeah.
In what way? Like, is
like, does it reach a point? I guess, is there a part of the journey which is like your job is to fuel the energy?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then does it, one day you just wake up and you're like, oh, this is working?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like, I think the first year or two, not paid, just doing it out of a side project. And then it probably takes me a little while to catch up to the reals, hey, this is it's evolved, and this little baby that I had in my hands is bigger than could ever imagine. And so and I think that was probably one of the hardest things, was learning to pull back and letting myself die in the ear. Cause at the start it was be there for every single thing and make sure I can't let anything go wrong. But now it's there's so many pieces of the puzzle and so many people involved that it's I'm really proud of how it's come, but it's also I'm also really thankful that I can kind of step back and let it become its own thing, and it's really it's done well.
So because everyone says that, right? They say this would be the best case scenario if I'm not needed anymore. Mm-hmm. The thing is, when you're not needed, is there a re-education process, right? You've got to find your next.
I think every Orange Sky came out of really just taking a risk and just going for it. And then also but then you kind of become a little bit more comfortable, and then you get to a point where it's everything's going well. And now that I'm pulling away, there's you have this kind of the safety net's not there anymore. I got to take another risk and be and how much risk am I willing to take? But the risk, you come with good and bad, and you just never know what the next step would take. But it's exciting. I think it's exciting now, and my past self would have hated it. But I really enjoy, I guess, that whole process of breaking ground, new things. What can what's next? It's rather than being a fearful thing, it's really exciting.
Why would your old self have hated it? What do you mean by that?
No, I grew up really wanting to just play it safe, I think. I remember as a young kid just wanted to I just wanted to work in a factory. And there's nothing wrong with working in a factory, but just the reason why was because I just wanted to just go get my paycheck and just live life. And it probably wasn't until my late 20s, I was life is going way too fast just to let life happen and finish. I want to do something. And so that's when the risk came in, and it was painful at the start. But the biggest risk I ever taken was so I quit my course, quit everything that I was doing, because I was studying quantity surveying, which is just another safe thing that I was doing just because it earns money. That was the only reason I did it. And then I just, then that's when I started Orange Sky. So again, And so now I can look at it and be all right, I know that the payoff, and it comes with failures, but that's just the flip side of the coin, the good and the bad. But that's when life's really kind of worth living.
Eddie, we'll just carry on that chat if we can, because it's really interesting, and we'll fill the audience in. But what was the need for the safety? Have you tried to kind of pick your brain? What was it as a service back to your family? Was there something that you grew up with feeling like, man, this is too wild. I got to batten down the hatches here.
I'll share a story, and like, this is probably not a very inspiring story to start off with, but I remember when I was a kid very clearly saying to my mum, there's two things that I want to do in life. Number one is I want to become a Pokemon master. And like, for anyone my age probably knows what I'm talking about, but like, I just like, Mom, if Pokemon are real tomorrow, I get to leave home. I get to catch all the Pokemon. And she's like, yeah, oh, cool. And I said, but the second thing, if that doesn't work out, is I just want to work in a factory. And there's nothing wrong with working in a factory, but I think looking back, I could see why I wanted to do that was because it was just something where I could go in, get my paycheck, and just live my life. And I didn't have any dramas. I didn't have any worries. I hated like confrontation. But I think all of it was just because I just wanted to play it safe. And yes, I think it was just from a place of like, I just didn't want to shake in. But I think, a quote, I'm not a big quote person, but one that I really like is Nelson Mandela saying, there's no passion to be found playing small, and living a life that's less than the one that you're capable of living. And so I think through all pretty much to my late 20s, if I'm honest, I was playing safe, didn't want to take any risks, but one of the biggest risks I've ever taken has led to the biggest, I guess, kind of successes that I've seen in my life is with Orange Sky. And, we talk about now how great it's done and how much it's grown, but the people don't talk often about the failures and the missteps. And, I remember saying, I'm going to take 3 months. I'm going to quit. Like I said to my mom, I'm going to quit my course. I was studying quantity surveying. Again, just another thing that I was doing just to play safe and to make it through. And I'm just going to give my all into this. And like, I don't know where it came from, this inspiration, but I was like, I just want to make something of my life. And, I think probably it was closer to like a year I ended up taking off. It had a lot of knockbacks and setbacks, but, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I think there are two flip sides of the coin, with risk taking is, the greatest successes in my life have come from that, but also, the greatest failures and knockbacks. But, you can't have one without the other. And I'm really glad.
Was there a tipping point for you willing to absorb that risk? And I guess I want to dig really into that, because you will have a lot of people listening and watching now who are feeling like they want to take that leap, but really being programmed, just like we all are. There's nothing wrong with working in a factory. There's nothing wrong with being a quantity surveyor, because they're actually jobs where is needed. And you know what the variables are, and you've seen previous generations do that and provide, and over time, save and buy houses and all of this stuff. But what are we talking about here?
Yeah, look, I think for me personally, I can tell, I can very clearly know when it was that like my mind shift changed, and it was when I got to a point I was like, what do I have left to lose? Because I remember waking up and just feeling like life is going way too fast, and I just feel like I'm just ticking off a to-do list at this point. Like I just became so acutely aware. And I think it was because like at that point, I just come back from Australia, moved back to New Zealand. I'd just got out of a long-term relationship, and like, it just felt like everything that I'd planned or was building had come crumbling down. And, what was my purpose? And so I think it was just in that moment of like at my lowest point, what I felt was like my lowest point was I think was when I was so hungry and desperate for something more. And I think that was when I was willing to like, I just feel like I'm doing a to-do list. And then sometimes it feels like I'm just doing other people's to-do list, and I'm just ticking off what they want me to do and what expectations people have on me. And so I just was so clearly sick of that. And I was like, again, I said with the quantity surveying, I was only doing that because that's what I felt other people were thinking that I should do. And so, it was out of that desperation and hunger. I was like, screw it. I'm going to give my all to this. And I had no idea what I was doing. It was the scariest time of my life. I'm so thankful that I went through all that, because look at it now.
And just to dig in a little bit more, if you're okay with that, because I'm trying to get to something that I've been thinking when you're talking, which is there's pain. And is that where the glimmer of hope comes in, to be like, I've got to do something with this. I can't this fear, this pain, it's not going to work if we keep doing standard operating procedure. And I wonder, have you ever tried to articulate, I'm trying to do it through the word hope, that I believe that hope is found in your dark moments, or the moments where you are feeling like, man, this is not going to end well. So what would I hope for if I could change things? And is that kind of fear or fear as in, is it fair to assume that you use that pain to kind of drive you towards something that you found meaningful?
Yeah, I think hope can't be fully appreciated when things are going well, when things are at your top and everything's like going as planned. What need do people have for hope? But it's in those darkest moments that I think, a beacon of hope and light really shine. And I've had a privilege of working with people that have dealt with trauma that I'll never fully realize. But the times that I feel most encouraged and hopeful is to see them not give up and just knowing that, if they can get up and still do life, and then, I think for myself as well, is like the deepest, I think my whole life I'd played it safe until like everything came crashing down and I was hurting and I was broken and I was lost and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. That was when I think hope really shone its brightest. And I think that was the thing that I look back and be like, and it made everything so worth it, knowing that like I didn't give up. Because when you give up, that's when I guess your story ends. And that's where, life can just keep going down and down and down. But once hope strikes it, that's the turning point.
Up to this journey, there'll be many, including us here, who are like, I'm with you. I feel the pain. There's versions we all carry. There's past pains, present pains, and everything else. And let's just imagine that everyone, if you feel that hope, which is like, I don't want to be here, and what can I do to influence that? Maybe something will emerge like a calling, a feeling of what you want to do. What was that for you?
For me, it was what was known as Orange Sky, but I think so. What it was it was a day. It was a particular day. I was just catching the train to uni and just going through day to day. And I walked past, I used to walk past these guys that were sleeping rough, out front of one of the churches in Manurewa, just next to my house. And, I didn't know the guy that well, but I remember walking past and not seeing them there that night. And I thinking it was strange because they were always just kind of sleeping there late at night. And I got home and it wasn't until the next day I found out he had passed away. Death is something I think that can be pretty scary to confront and to look at. But, I remember, going to his funeral and meeting his, support worker, and she was saying how embarrassed he was, because he had an infection, but he was too embarrassed to go to the doctors, because he hadn't had a shower or wash in so long. And I think that just really shook me out of like my own world of like, what the heck, this is happening in my own backyard. Like this is reality for people. And I'm wasting time. This can't be. And so, I think that's where I started off, at the local laundromat, just providing it for free so that this wouldn't happen again. And people like just knocking on people's cars that were sleeping rough and like, hey, if you want some washing done, I'll be here twice a week. Come around and we'll do it for free. Wow. And then growing from that, I remember, and there was Orange Sky in Australia, which is, they have these mobile vans that have washing machines, dryers and showers, and providing it for free all across Oz. And being a good Kiwi, I thought I'd steal one of the Aussies' ideas for once. And, just try to build my own van. I used to be called Fresh Out of the Van. So, I think, that was when I was like, that was when I was ready to risk it all. And I was willing to quit my course. I was willing to dedicate my life to this, what was just essentially just a side project. You just realize how much, need for hope and support there is out there. And it wasn't just my own community, but, we wanted to go into the city and support people out there. And then once we were in the city, we're like, we want to support people in Wellington, Christchurch, Hamilton. And so, things grew pretty quickly, in those last few years.
And that side project also, I guess, was like a lifeline to you. This was during that time, the surveying, the uni, you probably having these feelings and being able to pin your hope on, look, if I can do the laundromat thing, if I could start this van,
I guess what I'm trying to say, bro, is like, I guess there's one view which is like, you started this thing and now it's operational and it's beautiful, but the strategic plan was you trying to sort through your thoughts, and you could do that by offering service or help to others. And I think that's surely, I mean, would you say that's a template others can do, you know, because we talk about these words like service, but they're kind of wrapped up in religious contexts. And for many, that's a turnoff, you know? But I think if you really dig deeper, you can be like, maybe there's hope and there's answers found if it's not just about Eddie and what's in Eddie's mind.
Yeah, I think people, like even myself, just to realize it was so simple, the start off. Like I didn't have all these grandiose dreams of like, I want to span across all these countries and have all these vans and have all these volunteers. And no, it just started off from like, I just want to help this one guy in my community. Back to grassroots. I didn't think about anything else, but I just wanted to help someone. That was it. And just, that's the, like, I guess to use the terminology, like a seed that planted and just grew into something a lot more than I could imagine. But it has to, come from, just a genuine want and need to help. Because if I'd started off with grandiose dreams, I think it would have fallen off pretty quickly. And like when I wasn't hitting those targets or goals. But when I knew that I was just helping one person, and I think, sometimes, when we used to take out the vans, especially when we first started and nobody knew, there'd be some weeks we'd turn up and nobody turned up because, nobody knew who we were. Like, who are these random guys coming around with a van to do our washing? Like, it's a big symbol of trust to give over your washing to someone. And so I think if I had all these dreams and was faced with that, it would have just hurt. But knowing that it would be so worth it if my whole day was just spent helping one person, so that what I witnessed or had seen before in my community wouldn't happen again, would make it so worth it. And so, and I think I approach every shift. I think is that we provide, and every wash that we provide and conversation that we have still holds that meaning to me. And I think that's why it's so easy to fuel and keep going. And despite any setbacks that we have, is because I know that tomorrow, even just one person will have a wash and shower. I'll keep going forever.
So you started this side hustle, and it became more than that. It started to grow. Presumably it was quite organic. What happened then? Did you need to find others who would believe in you to scale this? Is that something you thought actively? Paint that picture with us.
Yeah, look, I think I get a lot of credit, but I get a lot of credit, but there's so many people behind the scenes that have made Orange Sky New Zealand the success that it was. I mean, I mentioned the Aussies, and look, not every Aussie is bad as they say. There are some good ones out there. I mean, Nick and Lucas, who started Orange Sky Australia, just young 20-year-olds. I think a lot of they took an opportunity, like a chance out on me, and really supported me. Like, we built our vans over there, and then shipped them over to New Zealand. And so I think, that having that support and belief was massive to kick off and start. And then I think I look at our volunteers, like we have like 500 volunteers, say, across New Zealand. Every single one of those, it wouldn't be possible without them. And for them to have that same belief in the vision, like I see that same, I think the really thing that I'm really proud of is just to see the same heart and attitude I think that I had towards what we're trying to do. Is just the same, like everyone just jumping on that vision, and nobody's in it for like their own selfish reasons. People are there because they genuinely want to help and help people and give that support. And so, there's the Aussies, there was the volunteers, there was my own family that, all my parents and my brothers and sisters are all out on shifts as well every week. And, I think, we're not built to do it alone. And I want to make sure that very clear that, this is a massive team effort, and I'm really, like, now I'm at a point now where I was able to step back, and I don't need to be the face of it. I don't need to be there to say, this is where it's going. I think there's like 500, 600 people now that have become Orange Sky. And, I'm really proud of where it's come. And I'm so proud of knowing where it's going to go, despite, even if I'm not here.
I think that's a really interesting point. You hear, I think, lots online about the stories of, the founder and the entrepreneur. And what I'm sensing from you is there's this kind of like, oh, good, I don't need to be fueling this just with my soul. maybe quite a brave move, because I imagine that would be quite addictive to be the guy.
Yeah.
Hey, can you talk about this? Show us all of, And so what was it in you that did you start getting a sense that, hey, I need to progress my own story, or to let this thing, it's achieved that goal now. That person you saw in the park that day, they would have an option to have a shower, to have their washing done, to feel brave enough to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And maybe that was healed a little bit in you. I mean, still massive story, right? But yeah, what was that kind of transition where you thought, I'm not going to be the everlasting energy here?
I think I've always been blessed to have some really good mentors and leaders to emulate in my life. And I think one of the biggest things that I appreciate in leaders is ones that realize that when their time is up, and when they realize when they're not needed to speak. And they, I remember, like, to give a bit more context, I remember, like, I grew up in church, and I remember some of the best churches I liked going to were like ones where you couldn't tell who the pastor was or the leader was, like, until they got up to speak. I remember going to the dairy one time with one of my schoolmates, and I saw the pastor there, and for lack of better words, he looked pretty shaggy, like he had just been painting his house or something. He had overalls, and I went and shook his hand, and then I went back to my mate, and my mate was like, "Oh, who was that?" I was like, "Oh, it's my pastor." And he's like, "Oh, I thought he was a drug dealer." Like, and so, like, just, those people that, like, they're not in it for, like, they don't need the credit. They don't need, I think that's a good sign, like, of someone that's truly genuine and there for the right reasons, is when they know that, it's time for them to step down and to let the next gen, or to let the next person come in that can take it to another level. I think those are the ones that I think those are the leaders. Once, if they have that, I think I would follow those people anywhere. And I wanted to do the same, and I wanted to be the same. And so, yeah, I think I truly believe Orange Sky will be taken to the next level, by people that have other skills and gifts that I never had. And I'm just happy to be out there and to be out on the shift, and to do a little bit of support work here and there for Orange Sky, because I know that that's what it needed the most. It's like a parent as well. Like, you got to know when it's your time to step back and let your child become its own thing. I'm sure, like, it's and so, like, as many ways I saw Orange Sky as like my little child, my little baby, but it's grown, and it's outgrown me in many ways. And so it was, I'll be lying if I said it wasn't tough to let it go, but I think I've been at peace since the decision I made to step back, to, like, to know that this is the right thing, and just as a proud parent, to sit back and be really proud of what's going on.
And what came next? I mean, I guess we haven't really dug deep into Orange Sky and the day-to-day running. We've done that in other podcasts, but I feel like that's where most of the media attention is like, this is the service, this is the offering, this is the connection. I'm just really interested to kind of, like, use you as a template for others who maybe they haven't structured everything out, and there's a bit of feeling based here. There's a bit of mentorship. There's also a bit of, like, this wasn't your plan A, but your plan B started being really amazing, and I guess somewhat healing for yourself, because of the direction, because of the service. And then you reach this point where you're like, man, there's like 600 people here, and this thing can operate, I guess, mainly without me. Then what? What was your thinking as a few years older, a few years wiser, a few more options?
Yeah, I think it came to a big shock to a lot of people when I said, like, I think my time's up, and I need to look at the next thing in my life. I still had the support of everyone, but I think, like, people looking from the outside be like, "Are you crazy? Like, you've just finally, everything's going the way you planned." But I think it comes back to what I was saying before about just playing it safe and just cruising. And you almost become a little bit addicted to, like, what's the next thing and what's, and I'm like, it's almost like an adrenaline junkie. Like, it's scary in a lot of ways, because you're losing your safety net, and you're going after something that, might not be considered as successful or growing. But, I think the people that knew me, when I said it, and I shout out to my parents, I give them a lot love. But like, when I said it to them and they're like, yeah, it makes sense. Like I can see it in you that like, you're ready for the next thing. And so, I think I come a little bit addicted to that fear of like, I can't, like this, it's almost became too safe. And it gives me the shivers because like, it reminds me a little bit of too much of like, I don't want to ever get comfortable. I want to know what's next. And I'm so acutely aware for some reason now of like how little time I have left on this earth that I'm like, I want to see what else is out there in this world. And I want to see what else I can do and give of myself to this world because I know I have so much more to offer and I'm ready for it.
I don't know if it's easy or hard to talk about this stuff, but there's people, including the ones in this room, who are taking that leap of faith. That's the easiest way I can categorize it. And it's as hard as somebody who's a non-believer trying to believe in something based on faith, right?
Yeah.
That if you go after something that doesn't have a structure or at least doesn't have really proven outcomes, that you won't fall over. And I guess that is what you talk about with risk. Hey, that there was a chance that none of this would come to fruition and you would have to come home with the tail between your legs. Do you think that it's a good thing to do? Would you recommend, for someone in a similar, I guess, space to be like, no, you will find something by searching? Like I don't want to put you on the spot because there'll be times where it doesn't work. And I guess transparently, we're doing this whole podcast thing and I'm not even sure it's going to work. But I still wake up loving that challenge because your goal is to try and make it work. And that's something on your terms.
Yeah.
That's something where you can control. And you never know when you have an Eddie in here if they know someone else. And we would call that networking. But you can't plan that all at the start. You've just got to hope.
Look, this is probably not the most inspiring thing to say, but you're going to fail. You're going to miss the mark. You're going to mess up. Things aren't going to work out the way that you plan every time. And once you come to terms with that, and realize that that's just the way it is, that, yep, your safety net's gone and I'm going to take a leap of faith and there's a good chance I might fall flat on my face. But again, it's two sides of the coin. You can't have the significant success if you're not ready to deal with the significant failures. And so you just gotta, and that's what a leap of faith is that it really could go either way. You don't know. It's out of your control now. Like you're taking that leap of faith. You're putting yourself out there, but you will never experience, or you're like, true passion and true living life is only found when you're like out in those moments of complete fear and just don't know where you're going. But those are the moments that will lead. Otherwise, you're just still stuck up on where it's safe and where you're not going to get hurt, but you're also not going to find what it is that truly sets you free and truly gets you out of bed in the morning. So,
and there would have been times where maybe you weren't sure if it was going to work, or you needed someone to believe in you, like you were talking about the Aussies.
Yeah.
And what was those moments like? Were you like quite stressed in those moments, or were you just like, hey, if that doesn't work, we'll find something else?
Oh yeah, and look, on the other side of that, like I'm talking a big game, but it hurt, man. I messed up so many times, and like when I first started, like going and like asking people for money and like donations and grants, and you're talking like you go into a room of like all these people in suits, and I'm like so fresh out of water that I'm like still in my jandals and like so like and like shorts, and they're like, who is this guy coming? And like getting laughed out. Like now it's different, and now it's worked out. But at the time, there's plenty of times I wanted to give up and feel like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And I like fell flat on my face. But yeah, like I said, like it was, I only planned to take 3 months off of study and just like give this a crack. It took almost a year before I actually got like any significant traction going. So it's, I don't want to pretend like it's all success and happiness. It's going to hurt sometimes chasing your dreams, chasing, what you really want. But again, 100%, anyone listening or that wants to go for it, like, please don't give up. Like, please, like, that next success could just be right around the corner. You never know who will be that person that will come through and believe in you and push you on to the next part of your story.
Beautiful. Eddie, you come across lots of people. You have these conversations with all walks of life, with all people at various parts of their journey. People must ask you about, I guess, how to find your thing in life. It's something I think about always, and I'm not even sure how to articulate it, so I'm keen to hear your thoughts, but maybe I believe, that we're all kind of given something within us, and it's like your community's job to give you enough time and space and love for that to build within.
Yep.
And that's a real brutal thing, because especially some of our communities don't have that time, space, and love.
Yeah.
Which is another thing I think is beautiful about Orange Sky. You're giving people who don't have the structures that most of us enjoy time, space, and love. And maybe there's that spark inside, and it relights a bit. You found yours. Have you done any exploring with others, or just in general with how someone might find theirs?
Yeah. I have a strong belief that everyone, like no exception, has value to who they are and what they do, and has something to offer to this world. That's everyone. And I think it's very clear to me when I'm out there supporting people that are doing it tough, is that the only difference between them and me, realistically, is that I had the community around me. I had people around me that I've messed up. I've hurt people. I've hit rock bottom at times, but I've always had a community around me, whether it's family, cousins, friends, people that believed in me. And the reality is, a lot of people don't have that, and have dealt with things that I can't even imagine. And if they just had that chance for someone to believe in them, even if it was just one person, and just one week of just showing them support. There's people with Orange Sky now that used to be on the streets, and just through conversation and connection, and staying connected with us, they now volunteer for Orange Sky. And now they're on that other side and supporting people now and giving back. And I think everyone has that ability. But, one of the hardest things is, there's a guy I remember hearing about, there's a guy on death row, and for the last 14 hours, just before he was about to be executed, he was saying, the last 14 hours, more people have come up to me and asked me, what do I want? What do I need? How can I help you? Whether it was to, a pastor saying, what's in the next life, or whether it was a guy giving them a meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, what do you want? More people have done that in the last 14 hours than I ever had in the whole of my life. And I guess is the reality for some people, is that they just don't have people that, honestly, I don't know anyone that could do it alone. And I think we just, everyone without exception has value.
I just thought when you were speaking that we had a guest on a different podcast that we produce here, and she's a counsellor. And she said this term that's kind of stuck with me, which is holding hope for others. Apart from the physical stuff that Orange Sky does, the practical, the stuff that goes on the news, is that part of the mission here, that you're holding hope for those who maybe are trying to find theirs?
Yep. Orange Sky, to be honest, it was never really fully about the washing and the showers. That all came secondary. The big thing was the connection and the conversation and providing community. The first thing, when Orange Sky goes out, the first thing the volunteers do is pull out their 6 orange chairs to provide conversation and a safe place for people to come and connect. And one of the biggest things I'm really proud about Orange Sky is that we refer to everyone that uses our service as friends. So it's not clients, it's not customers. We treat people how we want to treat our friends. And, to see that language now go out throughout, the Auckland City Mission and other services that are providing meals and haircuts, shout out to Sunday Blessings, LifeWise, Koha. There's some really good organizations out there, but they all start using the term as well, friends, because we realize it's not, the service that we provide is just covering a basic, but if we really want people to thrive, if we really want them to to find hope, that goes more than just living and surviving and breathing and eating. It comes through connection, and it comes through treating people with dignity and a bit of respect. And, that's when I think I've really seen people that are at their lowest, find a way to get up and get out and still hold on to that bit of hope.
It's beautiful. Eddie, depending what lens you look through this world, it might be dissolving around you, or it might be an opportunity, or whatever category. I think most of us would be a bit worried because it's like, no, there's change afoot. And thankfully I'm someone who wishes to change with, but I know there's many of our friends and colleagues who, want it to stay the same. Maybe we share a little bit of that fear of just always being the same. But I guess with everything going on, politically, economically, carry on, spiritually, environmentally, what do you hold hope for? What are you hopeful for? What do you, hope to be true, but also, that you will actually try and provide positive influence? And what's your hope, bro?
I think it's funny you mentioned like the political atmosphere. I think it's probably something that I've probably always tried to avoid, because I think, again, it's like something that's like, it just blows my mind. I think it's so counter to, a lot of the atmosphere that the political space holds now, of just, it's us versus them, and it's I'm right, you're wrong, and it's, we've got to have this group mentality against this group, and it can be a little bit confronting, because I feel like I play a little bit of the both sides of like, I'm in the homelessness space, and I'm in the space where people are of one view, but then I'm also in the space of like working with businesses and people that might be on the other side. Not to lump everyone together, but I think one mantra I try to hold, like, is probably really dear to me, is that I have no enemies in this life. No one is my enemy. And I wish, some of our leaders could see that a bit more. I talked about, no one's more valuable than the other person. And I think if we could approach life a bit more like that, I think we'd have a bit more empathy for the other side. And so there's a part of me that would like to get into politics, just because I'd love to stir the pot and just be like, and just to add my little 2 cents in. But I think we would go so much further as a country if we had proper discourse and have things open for discussion and debate. But at the end of the day, just realizing, hey, the prime minister is just another person that's trying to figure it out. Just like every one of us, that the person on the other side is just another person trying to figure it out. And we all make mistakes. So yeah, I wish there was a bit more empathy for our politicians, but also, yeah, don't get me wrong, like we need to always improve and get better. But yeah, I just want to say, yeah, I have no enemies.
Well, I guess as we come to the conclusion of our little chat today, I want to say thanks for just giving me your time over the years. You've come to my home when I had the little caravan set up, and I'm sure you were like, what the hell's going on here? And then you jumped online with me a couple of times, and maybe the recording wasn't always awesome, but today we were in person. I felt like it's like really there's no substitute, that I can see apart from connecting in real life. Mm-hmm. You get to see the person, feel the person. Hopefully that translates to what I'm trying to do metaphorically and maybe a bit physically, which is like, there's this little beacon that we'll send out there, and maybe the right people that need to hear it will hear it. And if not, that's okay. Maybe turning into a little tradition, and it feels a bit awkward because of how it's framed in my life. But today's the 1 year anniversary of my mum's passing.
Oh.
And it's an okay day for me because I listened to that feeling I had, which is like, life is short and you better go and do something. If I was sitting in an office doing the standard operating procedure, I think it would be a tougher day.
Yep.
But because I can choose to come hang out with you, Guy, the audience, and I have other cool things on my day, it's a nice day. But I did some recordings with her, and tomorrow, because this episode will go up next week, I put out an episode I did with my mum. And so that's a hefty one for me, but it's a proud one. But one thing that annoys me or pisses me off, I don't try not to swear too much, is that in the audio recordings, I didn't get her to say I love you. So she says all of this stuff, and I just should have said, Mum, can you just say you love me?
Yeah.
So would you just tell a few people that you love them who are important to you in this podcast, just so it sits somewhere online, so that in days to come, or years to come, or millennia to come, it's recorded? Because I don't know, but I get the feeling that that's the stuff actually the most deepest in us, that someone would acknowledge us and use that word, which gets thrown around, but man, it's bloody powerful. I love you. So is there a couple of people that you can just talk to?
Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously the easy one is Mum, Dad. Obviously, I love you very much. I'm so thankful that, whatever happens at the end of this time on earth, I got to spend it with you guys, a good majority, and the same goes to my brothers and sisters, Isaac, excuse me, Nathan, Elsie, Lucina. I'm very thankful for you guys. Despite any differences or how annoying I'm sure I can be to all of you guys, but I know at the end of the day, there's nobody that I've loved more, and there's nobody that I've appreciated more having on my side. So I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to all of you guys. 3 people, Mike, Fred, and Josh, people that have believed in me from day one. We've been through the best of times and the worst of times, but I wouldn't trade a single moment with you guys. You guys, a lot of ways a rock to me and bring me back down to earth. And, if I could have any time back in my life, I wouldn't take it back, because I genuinely appreciate every moment that I've got to spend with these people. So thank you.
Awesome. A little bit morbid, I get it, but look, writing a will's morbid, but we do it.
Yeah.
And we got this gear, so we need to do it.
Yeah.
You look beautiful, you sound great. So it's better than an iPhone or a Zoom call, right?
Yeah,
or a memory. Now that's captured. Where can people follow your journey and follow any of the other services that you're talking about, whether it be, the mission or City Mission, Orange Sky? Where are some places you'd like to direct people's attention?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously we spoke about Orange Sky. If anyone's interested about finding more or either volunteering or donating, they can just go to orangesky.org.nz and all the info's there, and you can see a little bit more about the people that were supported. And then the other one is, now working alongside the Auckland City Mission. So, aucklandcitymission.org.nz. If anyone wants to volunteer, there's plenty of opportunities there. Or also to donate, to quite a few of the projects that they're doing now to support people, that are doing it tough. I'm very proud to have worked with both of these organizations. So if anyone wants to find out more, they can go to the websites and give it some love.
Awesome. Thanks, Eddie. We'll catch up down the line, I'm sure.
Appreciate it, brother.
This episode of A Beacon of Hope is proudly brought to you by Campfire Studios. Campfire Studios is an impact-led organisation amplifying the voices of Māori and Pasifika communities via podcasting and video content. To find out more, visit campfirestudios.co.nz. 2, 3, 4. Thank you for tuning in to this frequency of hope in our podcast today. If you found value from this episode and want to hear more, I would love it if you could follow, subscribe, and rate our show. By doing so, you will increase the frequency of the Beacon of Hope. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other platform, please take a moment to hit the follow or subscribe button and leave a rating and review. I truly appreciate your support and feedback, and it helps us make our podcast even better. Thank you.
Be good. Be safe. And be happy. Yeah. Sounds like that song, doesn't it? Be happy.
All right, Mama, we'll stop there, right?
Yeah, okay. All right.